Hello, Red Wave. Welcome to Wear Bulldogs podcast. Today we have a very special guest. You know him, the legend around Fresno State when it comes to covering the Dogs, the one, the only Jackson Moore. Jackson, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, Caleb. How are you doing?
I'm squished between a bed and a wall in a hotel room right now, but we're doing well. I'm happy to have you on. This is the second time we've had you on this year, and I always learn something new when I have you on. And just so that everyone knows, and if they don't know about you, can you let them know what you do and what keeps you busy during the day?
Yeah. So I own and publish parkboard.com, covering Fresno State football, basketball, recruiting, all that stuff, and oversee that website. It's part of my deal with CBS, which we cover for 24/7 Sports. I also run the Cal, Stanford, San Jose State, and Hawaii sites. So trying to cover all those teams all at once. But Fresno is where I'm from originally. I've been to every home game since I was 1 year old. I've not missed one. And I started covering the team when I was 18 years old. So I'm getting close to about 15 years strong covering the Dogs. And um, it's always entertaining. There's always something new. So I'm loving it. And this season's been a special one for sure.
For sure, it's been a lot of fun. I just talking to my in-laws who are from New York. They're talking about Fresno State. They see what's going on. Hey, you guys are having a special season. Oh yeah, it's not over yet. We got San Jose State, but the reason I had Jackson on is for one of the reasons. Well, one, we'll talk a little bit of Fresno State, of course, but like he said, he covers San Jose State. The guy is everywhere. Jackson seems to, I don't know how you do it, bro, but you do a great job. And so we're going to talk a little bit about Fresno State. He's going to help us out, educate us on Fresno State for Saturday. I talked to one of your colleagues, Gabe Camarillo. Well, I think he's on your payroll. And so we were talking about this game. He's getting nervous about this game. I actually think that some Fresno State fans are a little more nervous about this game than they are Boise, at least the people keeping up with college football. I don't know about the casual Fresno State fans, but people should get up for this game because it's going to be a good one. How was your overall feeling right now about the game against San Jose State?
Yeah, I think this team feels fairly similar to the last few the Bulldogs have faced. Very competitive Mountain West teams where if Fresno State plays its A game, I think they'll come out on top. Looking at some of the head-to-head matchups, I think Spartans check a lot of boxes, but maybe not quite all of them. But sometimes it's not about that stuff. Sometimes it's about the mentality. And we saw all last week how juiced Fresno State was to avenge the 2021 loss to Boise State. Well, if you remember Thanksgiving in 2021, the Bulldogs just annihilated the Spartans. And the Bulldogs wanted that milk can trophy back. Spartans haven't had their V trophy for a few years. So it's kind of a role reversal. And so will the Bulldogs have any sort of letdown after all the energy they had against the Broncos? Will they handle being in the other role this week on the road at San Jose State? We'll see. That's an aspect of this game that makes me a bit nervous just because of how massive Saturday felt. And that's what the Spartans are going to be feeling this week. And the last time the Spartans lost, they were up 27-7 on the blue turf at Boise State, and they let that one get away somehow. They've won 3 in a row since then, and so they're feeling good. They've had a bye week to get ready for this, so there's a lot of intangibles in San Jose State's favor, and Fresno State's been able to handle all those except for 1 week, of course, at Wyoming when they faced some adversity this year.
Yeah, I think about San Jose State too. They've had a lot of good teams to help them prep for Mountain West play, which shocks me that I shouldn't say shocks, but I was a little surprised that they lost to Boise. But I mean, they've had a rough schedule, man. They played Oregon State. Did they play USC or Washington?
Yeah, they opened with USC and then came home to Oregon State. They had Boise State early in the schedule on the road. So, that was the lineup Fresno State had last year, and the Bulldogs went 0-3 and against those same 3 teams. So you can't fault the Spartans for that. And they got Air Force in that early going conference play. Jeez. And they went to Toledo, who's 8-1. So
Oh
Um,
my gosh, yeah, they're smoking Eastern Michigan as we speak
yeah,
in action. I saw that. So in that way, when we talk about it that way, I to me, I gotta get rid of their record as right now. They lost to very good teams. Yes, they still lost, but they're getting up for this game. They're prepared. They may be a little banged up for this game. We could get into that later, but since they took a beating in the beginning of the season, how has their fan base taken that? Is there a lot of energy behind the Spartans team, or how's the overall atmosphere right now?
I'd say it's renewed energy. They were not happy at 1-5, and I was the first to kind of say I'm not. I think San Jose State's good, but I'm not surprised they're 1-5. They probably should have taken one out of Boise State or Toledo, and they let both of those games get away. And that's probably the more frustrating thing for Spartan fans going through that first wave. But I felt pretty strongly and tried to get that across in my reporting that if they could just keep the locker room together, they were going to turn things around the last 7 weeks of the season. And they've even exceeded some of my expectations. They whooped on Utah State. Anticipate. They shut out Hawaii. I mean, that team usually scores points even if they lose.
Mhm.
And uh, I mean, New Mexico wasn't a contest either. So it's been. I think fans are a little bit back on board now. They see the team stuck together through adversity, and that they're on a bit of a roll right now. They're probably still gonna. It's gonna be tough for them to take if they don't hit bowl eligibility. This is a seventh-year head coach in Brent Brennan, and 3 years ago they were conference champions. Hasn't been the greatest run since then. So they want something to look forward to and feel like they're still on the right track. And theoretically, they could be in the conference championship game with 3 more wins. So um, uh,
Crazy.
yeah, so a lot of this season's riding on these last 3 weeks for them.
Now they added on to their stadium there, or they redid some of their stadium. Have they been able to fill that place? Because I hear a lot of Fresno fans saying we want more Fresno fans than Spartan fans in their stadium. Do you think they can make that happen?
They have drawn typically in the back half of the Brennan era better than they have in the past, and that still means about 14 to 16, maybe 17,000 on a good day. The Oregon State game they played, their first home game did sell out with a lot of Beaver fans who flew in for that game.
Huh,
But the capacity is a little over 20,000 right now with what they've done to the stadium. So, I mean, 3 to 5,000 Red Waivers could sell that thing out in a hurry if that's what it turns out to being. Hopefully, even more come out for Fresno State's sake. But they have torn down the bleachers behind the visiting team bench where the Red Wave sat for a long time. That was the case the last few times Fresno State's been there, but now their team facility is up in that spot. It's a $70 million team facility with, I mean, state of the art locker rooms and offices and everything. And those offices have balconies that overlook this field, and they turn into fan suites on game day. So you'll see
oh,
some
cool.
Spartan fans kind of partying up there in that building, and there's some patio furniture and a grass beam or a berm. So not a whole lot of atmosphere is going to be going on that side, but you'll see something new for sure.
Okay. Now, I don't know if you know the answer to this question. Maybe you do. I'm interested. How did San Jose State get that 70 million? Was it donor? Was it taxes? How'd they do that?
Yeah, a lot of it was donor based. They got a lot of seven-figure donations come through over the last 5 years or so. And this has been a long time coming. They first introduced an end zone project that was supposed to be similar to this one, and they never quite got the funds, and it kind of fell through, and then it turned into this. And then I'd say probably without the funds in place, they started tearing down seats, and then the pressure's on because that dirt mound they had there, it can't last forever. So there was a lot of pressure to get that ground broken and get that facility up, and yeah, they made it happen. And as far as team facilities go, it's very nice. As far as football stadiums go, it's a little different to say the least, the way it's set up. But I know the players on a day-to-day basis are loving that thing.
Oh, well, good for them. That's good. Now, let's talk about this team. So, the only thing that I really know about this team is Chevin Cordero's still there, and they lost a couple good pieces on the defensive side of the ball. where would you say is this team's strength? And you can name players or units or whatever you think this team's strength is. What is it?
I think it is Cordero. He's only thrown 3 picks all season long. But they're right up there with Fresno State in turnover margin. So just to have a veteran quarterback like that, especially because they've taken some hits on offense in terms of Elijah Cooks graduated. He was their number 1 receiver last year. And then the next guy up, who was preseason All Mountain West, Justin Lockhart, got hurt in camp. He's been out all year. So, I mean, now you're replacing 2 receivers, and they weren't anticipating having to do that. So he's kind of kept the offense afloat, and now the rest of the offense is kind of catching up a little bit. I think that, it's more of a broad thing, but it's still the same coaches and same schemes that they had when they won that championship back in 2020. And the thing that's been missing that seems to reappear lately is that they're running the ball more effectively, which changes Cordero's day tremendously when he doesn't have to do it himself. And they're playing a lot better defense, which was their staple for that 2020 championship as well. So it was against lesser opposition. We'll see if it holds against Fresno State. But I mean, Cordero's number 1, but if they can run the ball and they put together a good defensive game plan, then it's a totally different team, which we've seen the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's huge for Cordero because they haven't been able to do that past couple years, and he's been having to do the Caleb Williams or Josh Allen put the team on my back sort of deal. Uh, well, that's good for the now. Fresno State's been able to contain him the past couple times they've played, or the last time they played, I should say. I'm with a. Do you think that it's still the still priority number 1 to keep Cordero? I don't know if I want to say contain him in the pocket, but I don't want to see him running all over because he has gashed us a couple times in the past. Would you say that it's one, is it Fresno State's is it in Fresno State's best interest to keep him contained? And then 2, is San Jose really trying to get him out and run him, or are they just more focused on, okay, our running backs are good enough, we're using them?
Yeah, it sounded like that was priority 1 for Coach Coyle on Monday when he had his press conference. He talked about, as good as they did against Cordero last year, he said their plan going in was to spy him, and Cordero ripped a big run on the Dogs, and that plan kind of fell through. But David Paralis was just in his face all day long, so it didn't matter, I guess.
Funny.
That's a big key here. He hasn't run the ball a ton this season. He did have 50 yards against Utah State, and that's about as big as it's been. He's usually in the 20s. He had 7 yards against New Mexico, none against Hawaii when they were well ahead. So it's more a product, I think, of what's going on in the pocket if he does have to get out and make a play, which is probably more dangerous than being prepared for the read option in the first place. But the O-line has changed things for them. He got sacked like 42 times last year. He's only at 17 right now this season, so they're much better. They don't have the same tackle that Paralis beat over and over again last year. They fixed that. So
Bummer.
yeah, so they are in better shape there, and they're the Kyrie Robinson's been a big piece of their running back unit for a long time, but Wally Conley, a Fresno native Central grad, has been kind of the next guy up, the 1-2 punch that they've been missing. So they are getting the ball into those 2 guys' hands more here and relying less on Cordero to run. It's just more about broken plays, I would say, with his legs.
Mhm. Okay. Well, I think we have an idea of what we're going to see offensively when it comes to San Jose State. I think Cordero is going to be their piece that they're really going to focus on beating us with. Defensively, though, where's their strength? You mentioned they force a lot of turnovers. Is it interceptions? Are they forcing fumbles? Are they strip sacks? Are they getting to the quarterback? What's their strength on defense?
Yeah, it's kind of just a well-rounded defense, I would
Yeah.
say. They've got some like 6th-year veterans at safety, but I don't know if I necessarily call that the strength. And they've got a front 7 that is missing so many stars from last year, but is still holding up. They had Junior Fajoko, Cade Hall. They were both defensive player of the years in the Mountain West. They're gone. Kyle Harmon was a first team linebacker. He's gone, and they've still been pretty solid. They're not nearly as deep, but the first starting lineup is still pretty solid there. Javion Cole, transfer from Cal Poly at cornerback, has 3 picks. He's been a pretty impressive guy on that team. They don't have a ton of interceptions. Some of it's come by fumbles and just the fact that they are not turning it over themselves. They have a good margin. But they've switched it up a little bit. They used to be a pretty pure 3-4 defense, and now you'll see them with a nickel back out there. They'll run 4 down defensive linemen, and so they'll mix it up. And the cornerback play again beyond Cole has been a bit of a mixed bag. They've had like 3 or 4 different guys rotate in and out, so it just kind of feels like they're pretty solid across the board. There's not probably a next level guy that's obvious there. Trey Jenkins, the safety, is one of the better playmakers, but I'd say probably their biggest strength is that there's just not many weaknesses. There's not a obvious place where you're going to go to attack them. Maybe against their second cornerback, that's about the only clear way that you can really feel like you have a mismatch against them.
Right. That was going to be my next question: is what weakness could we exploit? And it sounds like that's the answer. The corner there, and I like to see us stretch the field horizontally, and then see what we can do against them. It's because it sounds like if they're not deep on the outside, then we can get Malik out there and make some people pay, get them in space. Offensively, what do they struggle the most doing? I mean, they're solid offensively, but what would you force them to do if you were Fresno State?
Yeah, I mean, it's usually been the running game, but that's taken off lately. So I think that's key here. I mean, the Bulldogs have been so good stopping the run, and they've faced better running teams lately with Boise State and UNLV. So I don't imagine that's going to be a problem. I think for Fresno State's standpoint, it's about as making them as one-dimensional as possible. So, if you can make Cordero beat you, 75% of the time and take that running game away, that's huge. If you can frustrate Cordero and make them try to run much more than they're used to, I think that plays in the Bulldogs' hands. It's just, when you get the Wyoming effect where they faced a Cowboy team that seemed like they were running and throwing the ball on them successfully, and then, what do you do from there? So that's just the one spot you don't want to get in, and I don't think that'll happen here. But if they do control the line of scrimmage, that's where they could figure that out.
Okay. Now, if San Jose State wins this game, what would you say is the reason why San Jose State won? What did they do?
I feel like the road to a victory, part of it plays with the mentality side we talked about earlier. I mean, I could see them coming out more juiced for this one, being at home and playing, the underdog role. The spread's not very wide, but I mean, Fresno State played the underdog role in a lot of ways against Boise State last week as the favorite. So that's what I mean there. And I think turnover margin is huge too, just because the Spartans and the Bulldogs are both very good at it. So if someone goes -1, -2, I mean, that could be the game right there. Yeah. Again, I feel like this is a game much like the last few, that if the Bulldogs play their game, they should edge out the Spartans by a small margin. But we've seen, and against Boise State, against UNLV, against Utah State, I mean, if you subtract 1 or 2 of those big plays, it could have gone the other way pretty easy. So I think it's another game here, and you just kind of have to bank on a Coach Tedford team being a little bit more prepared and a little more experienced and a little more used to adversity, and all that seems to punch out an extra play or 2 for the Dogs lately.
Yeah, I'm already losing hair, Jackson. I don't need to lose anymore, and they haven't helped me this year. But 2, leaving it up to our coaching staffs, like if it's going to come down to coaching, I'm fine with that because we will win every time. Fresno State coaching staff is one of the best, if not the best, in the Mountain West, and I would put them up against anybody in the country as well. So I'm okay with that. Just my hair can't handle it anymore. So actually, I was talking to Gabe, and he mentioned, and we were talking about, can we survive many more 1-score games? Uh, what? How do you feel about it? I mean, you're a Fresno State guy. I,
Mhm.
can we keep this up?
I mean, typically the odds are they're one's going to get away from me if you keep playing them the way that a one-score game normally goes. But I do feel like kind of the flow of the last few games, it felt like Fresno State had control, and the other team was going to have to make a big play to take it back, rather than who makes that last play. So if they keep playing like that, I mean, I think Tedford is fine in those spots where just stick to field position and turnover margin and playing sound football, and they feel like they're going to come out at the end. If it comes down to the Bulldogs having to score a touchdown at the end of the game, then I get a little bit nervous. But if they can just protect a small lead, I think they're capable.
Mhm. I want to talk about special teams really quick. Oh, Malik Sherrod took that squib kick back for a touchdown. That was huge. Do you see? Well, actually, since we're talking about the Spartans, I guess I should ask you about the Spartans. What's the Spartans special teams like? And then we can talk Fresno State special teams. So I get too excited with Jackson on. So the Spartans special teams first. Let's start with them. How are they looking this year?
Yeah, they were in rough shape at kicker last season, and I mean, they really didn't have much going for them there. They've tried to address that through the portal. Kyler Halverson coming from Hawaii I mean, he had a lot of options and decided to go there over some probably larger schools, but they haven't used him a whole lot. He's 6 for 10 on field goals, so this is still kind of a San Jose State team that um, may go for it outside of the red zone and try to keep drives alive instead of focusing on 3 points. So there's that to them. Matthew Coleman is kind of an underrated receiver for them that does a pretty good job on returns. You know, not going to see probably a whole. I wouldn't expect a fake punt like the Broncos ran from this group, but a solid special teams unit. But the field goal thing is interesting because I mean, 6 field goals for the Spartans all year versus Fresno State's Lou Groza semifinalist, I believe. Dylan Lynch cleared today, so that could be a key here if you have a kind of a bend but don't break approach from both teams.
Right. Yeah, that would be huge. I I'm gonna get to our final predictions really and how you see the game going. I mean, you've kind of mentioned the dogs edging this one out, but we'll talk about it more in one sec. I gotta mention Eastie's Wood Shop. If you guys looking for custom woodworking and home decor needs, let Eastie's Woodshop bring your ideas to life. Check out shopew.store and send them a message and to see their line of personalized gifts this holiday season. Use code BEWARE at shopew.store for 15% off your first purchase. That's shopew.store, code BEWARE for 15% off your first purchase. Also, the Vine Church in Fresno on Shaw, just west of Grantland. If you guys are looking to strengthen your community or your support group, or you need prayer, they meet on Sundays at 10 a.m. They also pray on Thursdays. A great group of people, fun, kind, welcoming, and the pastor speaks biblical truth. And they're also big Fresno State fans and Boer Bulldog supporters. So thank you to the Vine Church in Fresno on Shaw, just west of Grantland, Sundays, 10 a.m. Or let me know. I can get you in contact with them. All right, Jackson. This game is a 1 point. It opened. Or when I looked at it as 1 point spread. Fresno State being the favorite. I'm not going to ask you about where people should put their money, but where do you see this game going? In what direction, and who do you have winning this one?
Yeah, I just the way Fresno State has won the last few games has put quite a bit of confidence in me and where the Bulldogs are right now. Just because you've seen a high passing attack from Utah State, wasn't quite enough. We saw strong rushing attacks from Boise State and UNLV not be quite enough. And both of them had one really good receiver to throw to, and that wasn't enough. So, I mean, you kind of have to have the whole package, I think, to do enough against Fresno State's defense to win. Does San Jose State have that? I don't think so. Nick Nash is a really good receiver. They don't have a clear number two. The running game, if it gets going, that could be dangerous. But I'm not sure if it will against Fresno State's defensive front. So I expect this game to be very similar to the last few that the Bulldogs have played. If I didn't have the evidence of Fresno State's last 3 wins, I think I'd be less confident, even when San Jose State was 1-5 or 2-5, just because I was a little more threatened by kind of the style of play that they had. But I
Right.
think the Bulldogs have matched up. I mean, as long as a team, it's not just totally across the board strong, they find a way to slow them down enough to win games. And I think that's going to be a similar case here. I don't think the offense is going to get stumbled in this matchup either. I think there's going to be a lot of points and a lot of excitement, and it's going to feel like the last few games. I'm going about 31-28 Fresno State, which means, again, one bad play, two different emotional teams. If it comes down to that, I mean, it could turn very quickly. But I think, again, another game where the Bulldogs do just enough and probably don't have to make a play at the last second like they did against UNLV, but maybe they do.
Maybe that Dylan Lynch field goal.
Yeah.
Um, I do want to ask real quick on Fresno State injuries on the outlook. Let me just finish up the our supporters, our advertisers, real quick. Get their word out, and then we can get to injuries. So, if you guys are looking for wine during holiday season, check out Givoli Winery, located on Biola Avenue, just north of Shaw. Givoli Winery is open Saturdays and Sundays, noon to 5, and by appointment only on weekdays. They have local grapes, local winemakers. It's a great time out there. And if you go online to givoliwinery.com, you can see their event schedule, and they have plenty of events for you and your friends and your loved ones to go out there. There's also wood fire, brick oven pizza for your enjoyment, along with the wine. Also, Manage X, full service property management company that services single family, small multifamily, office, and industrial properties. They have been in business in Fresno since 1978 and are huge supporters of Fresno State. Huge. I'm serious. Huge. Get to know them. They're huge supporters. If you need property management services, check out their website, managex.net. That's manage, the letter X.net. And lastly, big thank you to Flora Flower Co., flower shop who supports local flower growers. It's your one-stop shop for gifts and bouquets. Store hours are Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., located on Shepherd and Willow. There's a florist in store to help you create something special. And if you use the code Fresno15, that's Fresno, the number 15, you'll get 15% off your purchase in store or online. Check out Flora Flower Co. on Shepherd and Willow, Mondays through Saturdays, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. All right, Jackson, last thing I got for you is injuries. We've seen a lot of guys banged up, and we've heard some guys sitting out of practice. I don't know if it's precautionary or whatnot, but do you have any news for people that, I want people to go to you and buy your product, but that you can say right now. And by the way, we'll let everyone know how they can get all the inside VIP scoop in a sec. But is there anything we should know about the Bulldogs when it comes to injuries for this game?
They've stayed pretty clean. There was that scare for a couple of weeks there between Wyoming and Utah State in the bye week where it got a little scary. But, I mean, other than that, they've been pretty fortunate. No major ones coming out of the Boise State game, to my knowledge. Cameron Braca did not play against Boise State, so that's really the one big one. Will he be back? It looks like he's more active in practice this week, but not quite sure if he's gotten the green light yet. So really, the one game time decision there, we'll see if he's able to go or not, which, he's been a difference maker at times this season. So they've been able to have enough safeties to get by the last couple of weeks, but it'd be nice to have him.
Yeah, that's for sure. And I know Johnny Hudson was banged up a little bit, but he came out last game and was a stud.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've had a lot of fun watching him the past couple games. So, Will Jackson, is there anything else that you would like to share about this game at all?
Let's see. Well,
People should know about San Jose State.
Yeah, one player I probably didn't touch on enough is Nick Nash, who's become their top receiver because he's got such an interesting story. If you've watched much Spartan football the last couple of years, you've probably seen him play quarterback. So he just he was a Wildcat for his first couple of years, and then he ends up filling in as the starter and has quite a bit of success, but not quite enough for them not to go out and get Chevin Cordero. So he went ahead and transitioned to receiver here. It's his first full season, and he's already the number one guy. So he's really fast, great at jump balls, real athletic, and has had no problem adjusting to receiving the passes that he's used to throwing. So he's the X factor for them. Dominic Mazzotti at tight end. They like to use their tight ends. Mazzotti's a good one. Sam Olson out of Visalia is also another guy that gets involved in the passing game. So, I mean, you're going to see a lot of three receivers and tight ends. It's probably going to look not that much different from what Fresno State does on that side of the ball too. So excited about that matchup, and yeah, just excited about the environment to see this Valley rivalry and San Jose State's completed version of what they've been doing lately. And I kind of hoping to see Fresno State bring more fans than I saw Oregon State bring. So, seeing as it's a lot closer of a trip, I mean, it looked like the Beavers had about 5,000 fans there. So hopefully the Red
Wow.
Wave comes strong for a big one in Mountain West play.
Well, you heard him, Red Wave. Let's get out there. Unfortunately, I will not be there. As I'm sorry. Everybody else, go have a great time. Where can everybody find you, Jackson? I know they could follow you on former Twitter X and you and Barkboard. And I saw, I mean, right before we went on, there's a big flash sale going on for Barkboard as well. What's going on there?
Yeah, there is. 24/7 Sports is doing a site-wide sale to celebrate basketball season, signing day today, and so we're turning it into Valley Rivalry sale on our end. And so today and Thursday till 9 p.m. Pacific time, you can join 50% off for a year. It comes out to less than $5 a month if you do it that way, and that'll keep you covered. I mean, for the year, not only for the rest of football season, but all of basketball season, all the off season, which is getting crazier and crazier each year, and all the way till November of next season. So I hope people take advantage of that.
Yes, guys, I cannot say enough good things about what Jackson does on Barkboard. It is insane. I don't know how this guy does it. So I pay for the service, guys. It's worth it. And you know everything. Everything going on, you know. So if you say you're a diehard Fresno State fan and you're not subscribed to Barkboard, I don't believe you. You need to go do that right now. And then you're right, Jackson. When it is off season, it's insane. You can't keep up with it unless you're listening to what Jackson is putting out there. It was amazing just to read everything, and Jackson's got a couple guys writing as well, other guys writing on there as well to help him out, and it is awesome. Go check Jackson out on that's barkboard.com, right?
Mm.
And make sure you get on that flash sale. $5? Holy cow. I you don't need Starbucks. Just go to McDonald's and get the $1 coffee. It's fine. You'll survive. No, but Jackson, you do a great job. Oh, where can they find you on X? Oh, right there. Jackson Moore 247.
Perfect.
Yeah, go follow Jackson. He is the guy. Go check him out. Thank you so much, Jackson. You're awesome. Now, are you making the trip?
I will be there. I got a busy trip. I'm going to Stanford men's basketball game Friday night. Cal's kicking off football game against Washington State at 1 p.m. And then I'll be back at Sefke Stadium for Bulldogs and Spartans by 7:30. Oh,
See, this just what I said. This guy is insane, and he does an awesome job. You got to follow Jackson around. He does such a good job. Jackson, thank you so much for what you do and for joining me. I appreciate it so much. You need to get out to the winery. I'll hook you up with wine. And I mean, I know I used you to cover San Jose State, but I'm going to end it with a go Dogs.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I really appreciate the kind words and everything you guys are doing here as well. It's awesome to see. It's been cool to see you guys really grow and get more and more shine. And I appreciate you having me on to join you with it.
Jackson, I'll see you at the next. Well, I know I'll see you at the next Save Mart Center game, but hopefully next football game too. Thank you very much.
Thank you.